As an online yoga teacher, you're going to come up against this position in your life where you have to choose between two things. And it's not necessarily choosing one negates the other. It just means choosing one as, let me clean my camera here. It just means choosing one as the majority. So it's not a zero-sum game where if you choose this path, then this path is not accessible. That's not the case. It's more of a scale and finding out which one you want a little bit more weight leaning on. And this is the decision where you have to choose, are you just going to accept reality as it is? Well, that's it. This is just the way things are, and I'm going to leave it at that. Or are you going to accept that you have this beautiful inward ability to shape the entire world around you? Right? I mean, not in a selfish way, but to choose to see things as you want to see them and accepting that as your reality instead of looking around you and allowing the external to decide your reality and impose the way things are on you, instead of you coming from a place within, choosing what reality looks like for you and projecting that onto the world. Okay? Usually people are pretty good at looking around and going, oh, look at this stat, the world is terrifying. Look at this stat, everything's falling apart. And they're usually pretty good at projecting their inner world from a trauma, fear-based perspective. Oh, I had this happen to me once or twice, so this is just the way the world is now for everyone. You see? Yoga teachers go through a really interesting journey, because as you get deeper into the yoga teachings, there is an increased emphasis on acceptance. And a lot of teachers who have some wounded trauma energy, right? We all do, but some who have a little bit more tend to take this as the white flag. Yoga says I should be more accepting, so I'm just going to let everything be as is and do nothing about it. I'm not so sure that's the approach that's healthy for the community as a whole of yoga teachers, and especially for new students coming in. It's not lost on me that having this perspective of consciously creating reality and not always just accepting everything as is in front of me as the way things are because I'm a Westerner. There's a bunch of dynamics at play here. But I found that particularly within asana and meditation and pranayama, there's so much emphasis on acceptance of what is internally and physically. Accept a physical limitation. Accept certain emotions arising within you, right? All this acceptance, and it can be overdone, right? There's a time and a place, but as you go down this path, as you're trying to help more people, as you're moving into the entrepreneurship space, if you want to be teaching online, if you want to be moving around the world, if you want to do new things and elevate your life, we also have to factor in something that's not totally covered so much in the yoga world. And that is conscious creation through free will, right? Yoga is really, really good at continuously to emphasize that the external world is a reflection of the internal, but a lot of people take acceptance as, well, things that are external, I'm just going to accept them because they're beyond my control. And that just doesn't really work as a yoga teacher who's moving into the entrepreneurship, yogapreneur space. Why? Because you're always going to be coming up against things that seem like they're unchangeable or that's a fixed version of reality when they're not. Part of your job as a yogipreneur is to look at reality and realize that you can change it. The world around is filled with energy. And yoga teachers in particular are very susceptible and sensitive to these shifting energies all around us, right? But here's something that's often not talked about. You might say, oh, well, these are all astrological energies that are moving. I'd agree with that. But it's not the only force at play. Because the human body, our consciousness, exerts force, exerts energy outward that is not only measured, right, about the size of a car. The energy from your heart can be measured up to about the size of a car, according to Heart Math Institute in California. And the energetic signals coming off of your head don't go much past where my hand is. This energy is electromagnetic and has an influence on the material world around you. And if you don't believe that your internal can manifest in the external and consciously create reality, you don't have to look very far in the spiritual community to find traces of people creating exactly what they were looking for or better. And I've had this done numerous times with housing, opportunities, courses that came into my life, like timing and synchronicities and things being exactly what I asked for. Just happened too many times to even bother sharing on here. I don't even need to prove it. I just know that it's a fact. And the more I tune into that, the more I realize that that chainsaw just started and it's in the background noise of my video now. No, I'm just kidding. The more there is a chainsaw there, but the more I tune into my inner self and realize that a lot of the emotions that we feel that are coming to us are actually the force of the free will of other people in this world, in this dimension. Now, there's a very famous physics study. I know, who thought you'd be getting into a physics study right now, right? But there's a very famous physics study called the double slit experiment. And the double slit experiment pushed a photon, very small piece of atoms that make up reality, right? Literally, like, I'm not talking no metaphysical spiritual stuff. I mean, this plant leaf right here has photons in it, okay? My body has photons. The screen you're watching this has photons. So scientists sent photons through these two slits. And you don't really need to know much about physics, but a photon can take on two forms. One can be the physical form, a little ball that is physical matter around an atom. Very, very tiny. Yeah? And it can also take on the form of a wave, right? So it's literally just energy vibrating like this, or physical shape, okay? So scientists sent photons through these two slits, and what they did was they found out that when consciousness was looking at these photons, probably some kind of microscope or something, but when these photons were consciously observed, whatever the observer was looking for, that was what they found. So if the observer was looking for a wave, they found a wave. And if the observer was looking for physical matter, they found physical matter passing through. And they measured this. And they did a controlled part where they found if they were intentionally looking for physical particles, before sending them through, they of course found physical particles. So to control for this, they also started sending them through and then had a computer give random suggestions on which one it is, particle or wave. And then the scientists consciously said, while it was passing through, we're looking for this or this one. And whichever ones they said, even though the photons had already been fired, in transit, once consciously observed, they became that state. Okay, so why does this matter? Well, because everything around us includes photons. This means our consciousness can shape physical reality. Let that process for a second. Your consciousness shapes physical reality. That means that whatever you see, it will be. Right? That which you believe, so shall you receive. As you reap, as you sow, so shall you reap. Right? Karma, basically. That which you give, so shall you get. Right? But in this case, applied to a more conscious sense. So this means we have, as yoga teachers moving into the entrepreneur space, we have to ditch this idea that we can just accept everything, and we should just accept everything because it's being imposed on us. Forget that. Right now, yeah, there's a time and a place for acceptance, right? But consciously doing it all the time, or worse, unconsciously doing it all the time, throwing your hands up and just saying, oh, well, this is beyond my control, there's nothing I could do. Well, yeah, with that kind of mindset, there is nothing you can do. But once you realize that you can have conscious control over your physical reality, and once you realize that reality is nowhere near as dense as you think, right? Once you start to believe that your reality can shift like this, it will start to do that. But it's not going to do it without your belief. That's the key component. And as an entrepreneur / yogipreneur, you have to believe that you can shift the reality that your eyes perceive in front of you. You see, the physical reality in front of you is a delayed reaction from your consciousness. Whatever you're feeling inside, your reality perfectly replicates. That's it. That's all there is. And when you think about it, that's 100% balance. That is balance. That's how you can be sure that the universe and the planet are always balanced. Because whatever you perceive is a reflection of what you believe. That's it. There literally can't be anything else, right? And before you hit me up with, here's some stats about droughts of water, and here's some stats about war, and here's some stats about famine, and here's some stats about poverty, and here's some stats about corruption, you're looking for it. It's all confirmation bias. Whatever you look for, you're going to find. Right? So if we could take the path of everything's beautiful and there's not a problem in the world, or we take the path of everything's a problem, look at all the issues going on, that's just a choice. You're choosing where to put your consciousness. You're choosing which energy to amplify. You're choosing where to focus and spend your time. It's all up to you. Now, you can focus your energy somewhere and accept that that is reality. There's your acceptance. But if reality is not matching your internal state, if your reality is not where you want it to be, you need to accept that that needs to change. Then apply your conscious creation to changing your reality. And that starts by changing your emotional state, your mental state. Super deep work. But if you can get that figured out, reality is a playground. The world is your playground. And it's just a matter of having fun and enjoying the process. If you'd like to learn how you can do this, I got a link in the description that will show you how to shift your internal state about earning online as a yoga teacher and moving into that yogapreneur space, setting up systems so that you can help more people while doing less work and get paid 4 digits at a time. Link's in the description. I'll see you there.